Hi, my name is Michelle Gilroy and I am the off-duty furniture flipper. This is what I do in my off time when I'm not nursing. I am furniture flipping and reinventing, refinishing, restoring pieces of furniture to sell on Facebook Marketplace and Kijiji. So welcome back again. If you haven't hit subscribe, please do so, like, or leave me a comment. If there's anything you have any questions about, I would be happy to answer them. So as you can see here, I got this cabinet. It was originally a record cabinet. I got it from Facebook Marketplace for $50, and I really liked all the detail on it. I thought I could really bring it out, and I liked the handles as well. And so I thought this would make a perfect gift for somebody or a great flip. The first thing that I did was get out my bowl of warm water and Dawn dish soap. It's a powerful degreaser. And then I cleansed it after with a bowl of warm clear water. So as you can see here, this piece right here, there is a strip of veneer missing. It was bubbled up and so I removed it. I'm going to try wood filling that area, but if it doesn't work, I am going to be taking the veneer off and possibly putting on new veneer or just painting on the wood that's underneath. We'll see how it goes and see how it works. I've done it before and it's worked, so let's try it again. So I got out my Elmer's Pro Bond Max wood filler. It was a little bit dried out. I usually transfer that wood filler into a Tupperware or like a plastic sealed container, and then I put a layer of saran wrap right over top of it. That is to keep it moist and keep the moisture in. Otherwise, it will dry out in its original packaging. You can always add a little bit of water because it is a water-based wood filler. So you mix it around after you've added the water and let it really soak in, and you should get the consistency that you need to be able to spread it on and put it on really good. And so as you see here with my scraper and a thin layer of the wood filler, I'm just going back over top and filling in that area where the veneer has come off and going back over top. And then I waited for a couple of hours, let it dry really well, did a light sanding with about 240 grit sandpaper just to smooth it out, and the areas that were not even and it needed to come up a little bit, I did another layer of wood filler and I sanded it down again after I let it dry for a couple of hours, and that way it was a nice smooth finish between the veneer and the area that was missing. As you can see here, I scuff sanded the record cabinet. I started out with a 180 grit sandpaper, and then I went to a 400 grit on my random orbital sander. A lot of it though was done with something like this. It is something that you can get from the hardware store. You cut your sandpaper up into squares, or you can buy them that way. You wrap it around this part, and then you screw this back on top, and then it holds it all secure. And you can use that as well, or in replace of a random orbital sander, and just go along and do your scuff sanding that way. You could usually you do scuff sanding with 220 grit sandpaper, but this one had a few scratches that I needed to get out as well. It was kind of rough, so I started out with the 180 and then ended with the 400. And so now I'm going to go along and do some scuff sanding a little bit more on this detail so that the paint adheres to really well. As well, I've tried to remove the hardware here, but it's impossible actually. This will come off, the knob part will come off, but this part won't. It's glued on. So I'm just going to leave it on, either leave it as it is or paint over top of it, brighten it up to more of a goldy color. And so I'm gonna go ahead and do that. So after I was done scuff sanding, I got out my microfiber cloth and then I washed it down with the Dawn dish soap and warm water, making sure to rinse afterwards with the clear warm water. So I basically sanded it down. I've sprayed it with a water bottle on top. This is to prevent the drag from the thick primer. And so it also is just a nice thin layer of primer that I'm doing at first so that I can check it for those scratches and things like that, areas that I wasn't really sure were going to be okay. Once I wood filled and sanded it down, I'm checking to make sure that everything's nice and smooth. And then if it isn't, then I have to go back over it with wood filler, sand it again, do another primer coat, and get the rest of this started. I've done it with a dark gray because we're doing a dark color on this record cabinet today. So today on the raised areas and as well on the hardware, I'm using this Krylon metallic spray paint in pure gold. It is a really great paint. You can get a discount at Michael's. It's really reasonable and it adheres quite well. So we've officially finished the first priming coat of this record cabinet. What I've done with this part is go around and tape the edges. Some of it's coming off, as you can see. I'm gonna have to fix it, but for the most part it is taped off, and so the gold is being protected, so that way I don't have to do too many touch-ups when I'm done with the cranberry paint that I'm going to be using. And I will show that to you now. This is the color that we're doing today. It's Fusion's Cranberry, and it is an all-in-one paint, so that means it has a primer in it as well as a top coat. And I'm just gonna undo it, and then I will show you the color. So this is what it starts out as. This is not what it'll finish up as, because it'll dry darker than what's in the can. So we've shaken it up for a little bit. Now we're just gonna pour it into this tray here. Kind of have to guess how much you're gonna use and pick up some of the drips there. Put this back on top for now. And again, the best way to make sure that you can still open this back up really easily is to put a saran wrap between the lid and the jar top, or you're gonna have to wash the lip on the jar and as well as the jar top before you get going. Putting on my glove, the reason being is the Fusion paint is really hard to get off your hands. It really adheres well. So we've dusted it off. We made sure that we've gotten all of it off. And so then we have our spray bottle of water that I got from the dollar store, fairly cheap. We go along the top and we mist it a bit. This is so that you don't have as much drag with your paint. The Fusion Mineral paint isn't so hard, like it's not too bad actually for that. So you could go without the water, but for the first coat, I think I might as well, just so that it adheres to that primer really well. I've put on this primer, I've let it sit overnight, the Natura primer, but you actually don't have to. Give it a couple of hours and you can go again right on top of that and start to paint. So I did 2 coats of the cranberry fusion paint. I waited 2 hours approximately between the 2 coats, and then the last coat I waited a few hours just to make sure that it was nice and dry. And then I decided that I was going to take off the tape on the gold areas and start to retouch in those areas, making it nice and tight and crisp so that the lines were really good and it had a nice clean finished appearance. So after I was done taking the tape off of the gold trim on the cabinet, I decided to do a top coat on the cabinet itself with the Varathane diamond wood finish in a satin sheen. I mixed it in a separate container with a little bit of the cranberry paint, making sure it was all mixed through carefully. And then I got out a sponge with a nylon covering over top of it and I applied the top coat. Now it's time to reveal this cabinet's transformation. It started out very old, very rough, damage to the veneer that I thought maybe I couldn't do anything to, as well as a number of scratches and some rough areas that needed repairing. And I decided that I was going to give this as a gift for Christmas, which is the best flip of all. And now here it is. Happy New Year from Off Duty Furniture.